Good morning, loves. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, October the 3rd. I had to double check that it was Tuesday. It seems like it should be further in the week. But here we are. Welcome to Bookeemonsters. Welcome or welcome back. My name is PK. And on the morning show, we look at all the new releases each week, genre by genre. Today is Tuesday. We're mixing it up a little bit. We looked at some cozies yesterday. There'll be more cozies later this week because there's always a lot. But today we're going to look at mysteries. This will be more of the standard mysteries, procedural, PIs, etc., etc. Time will go fast, so let's jump in. This is Shadowheart by Meg Gardner. What happens when two serial killers begin to compete with each other? FBI Special Agent Caitlin Hendricks faces a case from nightmares. In a Tennessee prison, Ephraim Judah Good draws haunting portraits of women he claims he has killed. Around the country, desperate families of the missing seek answers in his eerie drawings. And on darkened back roads in New York City streets, a new killer poses duct tape bodies at the site of Good's murders. Two serial killers are locked in a twisted rivalry. To stop the brutal slayings, FBI profiler Caitlin Hendricks must unravel the connection between Good and the Broken Heart Killer. Their warped competition destroys anyone in their path. Caught between a manipulative psychopath and a ruthless unsub, Caitlin has to dive into not one but two dark and twisted minds. She will risk everything, plunging into the depths of their depraved clash to hunt down an unstoppable killer. So if you like Criminal Minds and that kind of thing. The Intern by Michelle Campbell. A young Harvard law student falls under the spell of a charismatic judge in this timely and thrilling novel about class, ambition, family, and murder. Madison Rivera lands the internship of a lifetime working for Judge Catherine Conroy, but Madison has a secret that could destroy her career. Her troubled young brother Danny has been arrested, and Conroy is the judge on his case. When Danny goes missing after accusing the judge of corruption, Madison's quest for answers brings her deep into the judge's glamorous world. Is Catherine Conroy a mentor, a victim, or a criminal? Is she trying to help Madison or use her as a pawn? And why is somebody trying to kill her? As the two women circle each other in a dangerous cat and mouse game, they will save each other. Will they save each other, or will betrayal leave one of them dead? And Simon Brett, Mrs. Pargeter's Patio. A bizarre discovery right under Mrs. Pargeter's patio turns a quiet and sunny June morning into a thrilling hunt for answers in this installment of the lighthearted and entertaining Mrs. Pargeter's mystery series. When widow Mrs. Pargeter, they just want to throw that in there, make me twist my tongue over it, decides to have her morning coffee on the patio of her mansion in Chigwell, her intention is to admire her beautiful garden in peace and quiet. Little does she expect one of the patio's paving slabs to crack in two, depositing her on the ground and revealing a human skull with a neat hole in the middle of its forehead. Not wanting to bother police just yet, Mrs. Pargeter decides to save them some trouble and start investigating the curious find herself. Mistake. And who better to assist than her late husband's business associates, private investigator Truffler Mason and chauffeur Gary. The trio are soon certain that a murder has been committed and the body disposed, well, no kidding, and the body disposed of under some convenient building works. But who is the mysterious victim? And more importantly, who put the body under Mrs. Pargeter's patio? I mean, that's the very first question. Mrs. Pargeter and her friends must find out the truth, and soon, before the finger of suspicion points in an unthinkable direction towards the late great Mr. Pargeter, whose business dealings Mrs. P remains naturally in blissful ignorance of. And Kill Show by Daniel Swerin Becker. When 16-year-old Sarah Parcell goes missing, it's an utter tragedy and an entertaining national obsession in this thoughtful and addictively readable novel that offers a fresh and provocative take on whodunits and true crime. Sarah Parcell disappeared without a trace on a crisp April morning in Frederick, Maryland. Her tragic story was a national obsession. Not surprising, we see it every single day. And the centerpiece of a controversial television docuseries that followed her disappearance in real time. But is it possible that everyone missed the biggest secret of all? 10 years after these events, the people who knew Sarah best are finally ready to talk. In this genre-bending novel, Daniel Swearenbecker fashions an oral history around the seemingly familiar crime of a teenage girl gone missing. Yet Kill Show, filled with diabolical twists and provocative social commentary, is no standard mystery. Through interviews with family members, neighbors, law enforcement, television executives, and a host of other compelling characters, the author constructs a riveting tale about one family's tragedy and Hollywood's insatiable desire to exploit it. By revealing the seedy underbelly of the true crime entertainment machine, Kill Show probes literary territory beyond the bounds of the standard whodunit. It's a thoughtful exploration into America's obsession with mysteries, cold cases, and violent tales we turn to for comfort, etc. A Traitor in Whitehall by Julia Kelly. Looks like this is the first in a series. 1940 England. Evelyn Redfern, known as the Parisian orphan as a child, is working on the line at a musician's factory in wartime London. When Mr. Fletcher, one of her father's old friends, spots Evelyn on a night out, Evelyn finds herself plunged into the world of Prime Minister Winston Churchill's cabinet war rooms. However, shortly after she settles into a new role as a secretary, one of the girls at work is murdered, and Evelyn must use all of her amateur sleuthing expertise to find the killer. But doing so puts her right in the path of David Poole, a cagey minister's aide who seems determined to thwart her investigations. That is, until Evelyn finds out David's real mission is to root out a mole selling government secrets to Britain's enemies, and the pair begrudgingly team up. With her quick wit, sharp eyes, and determination, will Evelyn be able to find out who's selling England's secrets and catch a killer, all while battling her growing attraction to David? That's very much like Susan McNeill, Elia McNeil's series. Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. Bottom Springs, Louisiana. In her small hometown, librarian Ruth Cornier has always felt like an outsider, even as her beloved father rains fire and brimstone warnings from the pulpit at Holy Fire Baptist. Unfortunately for Ruth, the only things the townspeople fear more than God and the devil are the myths that haunt the area, like the story of how the Low Man, a vampiric figure said to steal into sinners' bedrooms and kill them on moonless nights. When a skull is found deep in the swamp next to mysterious carved symbols, Bottom Springs is thrown into uproar, and Ruth realizes only she and Everett, an old friend with a dark past, have the power to comb the town's secret underbelly in search of true evil. Okay, they're calling it where the Crawdads Sing meets Twilight meets Thelma and Louise. Let's check in over here super quick. Good morning, Rebecca. So I'm going to check out the new releases. Yes, it does. I must be in the mood because a lot of these are sounding very good. I thank you very much for coming. Tasha Alexander, a long-running historical mystery. This is A Cold Highland Wind. In the summer of 1905, Lady Emily, husband Colin Hargraves, and their three sons, jumping ahead. I'm a little bit behind in this series. Eagerly embark on a family vacation at Cairnfarn Castle, the Scottish estate of their dear friend Jeremy, Duke of Bainbridge. But a high-spirited celebration at the beginning of their stay comes to a grisly end when the Duke's gamekeeper is found murdered on the banks of the loch. Handsome Angus Sinclair had a host of enemies: the fiancée he abandoned in Edinburgh, the young woman who had fallen hopelessly in love with him, and the rough farmer who saw him as rival for her affections. But what is the meaning of the curious runic stone left at Sinclair's forehead? Clues may be found in the story of Lady McAllister, wife of the Laird of Cairnfarn Castle, who in 1676 suddenly found herself widowed and thrown out of her home. Her sole companion was a Moorish slave girl who helped her secretly spirit her most prized possessions, a collection of strange books, out of the castle. When her neighbors, wary of a woman living on her own, found a poppet, a doll used to cast spells, and a daisy wheel in her isolated cottage, Lady McAllister was accused of witchcraft, a crime punishable by death. Hundreds of years later, Lady Emily searches for the link between Lady McAllister's harrowing witchcraft trial and the brutal death of Sinclair. She must follow a trail of hidden motives, an illicit affair, and a mysterious stranger to reveal the dark side of a seemingly idyllic Highland village. Very seasonal. I'm going to close down some of the tabs that I have open here that we have covered. Looks like only a couple. Okay. Caught on the Book by Laura Gale Black. The annual fishing tournament and a festival in Hoax Folly, North Carolina, is the high watermark event of the year. Antiquarian bookseller Jenna Quinn, owner of the Twice Upon a Time bookstore, is ready to catch some new customers with her fishing-themed book display at the festival. That is, until a local author is found dead in his booth. All fingers point to Frank Sutter, a former detective with the police department. His soon-to-be ex-wife had been dating the victim, and Frank had been seen having an argument with him earlier that day. When Keith Logan, Jenna's boyfriend and detective with the local police, asked Jenna for help to solve the case, she's shocked. Frank was Keith's former partner and someone who had been determined to pin more than one murder on Jenna. Frank doesn't want Jenna's help any more than Jenna wants to help him. The two will have to put aside their animosity for each other if they want to reel in the killer. This book-selling sleuth knows she will have to cast a wide net in order to catch the killer, even if it means dangerously luring them in. Will her novel idea help her catch the killer, or is she bound for a more deadly ending? And we had skipped this one, John Sanford, Judgment Prey. Next in his long-running series, Alex Sand was spending the evening at home playing basketball with his two young sons when all three were shot in cold blood. A wealthy federal judge, there's no short list of people who could have a vendetta against Sands, but the gruesome murders, especially that of his children, turned their St. Paul community on its head. Sand was on the verge of a major donation to a local housing charity, Heart Twin Cities, and with the money in limbo, I suddenly turned to his grieving widow, Margaret Cooper, to see what she might do with the money. Margaret, distraught over the death of her family, struggles to move forward and can't imagine how or why anyone would target her husband. With public pressure mounting and both the local police force and FBI hitting dead end after dead end, Lucas Davenport and Virgil Flowers are called in to do what others could not, find answers. With each potential lead flawed, Davenport and Flowers are determined to chase every theory until they figure out who killed the Sands. But when they find themselves being stonewalled by the most unlikely of forces, the two wonder if perhaps each misdirection could lead them closer to the truth. I must be in a police procedural mood because that is sounding interesting to me too. Let's see, we did that one. The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. Very well-known name now. Some doors are locked for a reason. When 11-year-old Nora Davis was up in her bedroom doing homework, she had no idea her father was killing women in the basement until the day the police arrived at their front door. Decades later, Nora's father is spending his life behind bars, and Nora is a successful surgeon with a quiet, solitary existence. Nobody knows about her past, and she'll do anything to keep it that way. Then one of her young female patients is murdered, killed in the same unique and horrific manner that her father used to kill his victims. Somebody knows who Nora is. Somebody wants her to take the fall for this unthinkable crime. But she's not like her father. The police can't pin anything on her as long as they don't look in her basement. That sounds intriguing too. I haven't read a police procedural in a long time. Peril in Paris by Reese Bowen. This is in her the Royal Spyness series, 16th in series. Lady Georgiana Rannoch and her dashing husband Darcy are awaiting a bundle of joy, but an unexpected trip to Paris will thrust them straight into a tangled web of international intrigue, etc. What a delight it is to finally be able to enjoy a simple meal again. I've been in the throes of morning sickness for the last few months as Darcy and I prepare to welcome a brand new addition to our little family. Now that I'm feeling better, I have realized I'm dreadfully bored. Happily, it seems that Darcy has read my mind. When I receive a letter from my glamorous best friend, Belinda, Darcy suggests we take a trip to Paris to visit her. It seems he also has a spot of business to take care of, so I will be staying in Belinda's flat as she works feverishly on Coco Chanel's fall collection. I happen to know Coco from a disastrous encounter in Nice years ago, and I'm hoping this visit will go much more smoothly. But I soon learned that nothing about my time in Paris is going to be simple or safe for that matter. Darcy has asked me to take on a small chore as part of his latest assignment. I am to covertly retrieve something from an attendee of Coco's show. It seems easy enough, but I discovered that this little errand could have terrifying consequences for a world on the brink of war. When things go horribly wrong, I am left to find a killer, all while trying to fend off a French policeman who is certain that I am a criminal mastermind. But I have no plans to deliver my darling little one in a prison cell, and so I must muster every ounce of my courage to save the day and quite possibly the world. I'm gonna check in over here super quick. Hi, Annalise. Hello, welcome. I'm happy to see you. Rebecca says the Prey series is on my TBR. Me too, but there's so many. I wonder if you can like jump in and it'll be okay, or should you read it in order? It's always been on my radar for decades, and I've just never gotten around to it. So much to read. Fear Nothing by Lisa Gardner. This is 7th. Did this come out? They're saying 7th of 11. We're going to double check this real quick. Yeah, it says. Okay. We'll read it. We trust. By Lisa Gardner, 7th in the D.D. Warren series. I am familiar with this series. I don't know if I read the first one a long time ago. My name is Dr. Adeline Glenn. Due to a genetic condition, I can't feel pain. I never have. I never will. The last thing Boston detective Dee Warren remembers is walking the crime scene after dark. Then a creaking floorboard, a low voice crooning in her ear. She is later told she managed to discharge her weapon 3 times. All she knows is that she is seriously injured, unable to move her left arm, unable to return to work. My sister is Shanna Day, a notorious murderer who first killed at 14, incarcerated for 3 years. She has now murdered more people while in prison than she did as a free woman. That's intriguing. 6 weeks later, a second woman is discovered murdered in her own bed, her room containing the same calling cards from the first, a bottle of champagne and a single red rose. The only person who may have seen the killer, Detective Dee Warren, who still can't lift her child, load her gun, or recall a single detail from the night that may have cost her everything. Our father was Harry Day, an infamous serial killer who buried young women beneath the floor of our home. He has been dead for 40 years, except the Rose Killer knows things about my father he shouldn't. My sister claims she can help catch him. I think just because I can't feel pain doesn't mean my family can't hurt me. Dee Dee may not be back on the job, but she's back on the hunt. Because the Rose Killer isn't just targeting lone women, he is targeting Dee Dee, and Dee Dee knows there is only one way to take him down. Fear nothing. Okay. Series that you like. Guilt Strikes at Granger's Store by Terry Shames. 10th in series. Chief of Police Samuel Craddock is perplexed by a series of increasingly troubling events at Granger's store. The shop owner's son, Mark Granger, has plans to renovate and modernize the popular animal feed store in the small Texas town of Jarrett Creek. But when he's assaulted, it's clear that some townfolk are against his ideas. Could the devastating fire that follows be linked to the threatening phone calls Mark has been receiving? When the body of an outsider originally from Jarrett Creek is found in the scorched shop, Craddock's investigation takes a sudden deadly turn. Who is determined to stop the renovation at any cost, and why? As Craddock investigates, he unearths dark secrets stretching back 30 years. Let's see, we did that one. And here's one for Spy vs. Spy September next year. Moscow X by David McCloskey, 2nd in series. A daring CIA operation threatens chaos in the Kremlin, but can Langley trust the Russian at its center? CIA officers Sia and Max enter Russia under commercial cover to recruit Vladimir Putin's money man. Sia works for a London law firm that conceals the wealth of the super rich. Max's family business in Mexico, a CIA front since the 1960s, is a farm that breeds high-end racehorses. They pose as a couple to target Vladimir Putin's private banker and his wife Anna, who unbeknownst to CIA is a Russian intelligence officer under deep cover at the bank. As they descend further into a Russian world dripping with luxury and rife with gangland violence, Sia and Max's only hope may be Anna, who is playing a game of her own. Careening between the horse ranch in northern Mexico, the corridors of Langley, and the dark opulence of Putin's Russia, Moscow X is both a gripping thriller of modern espionage and a raw, unsparing commentary on the nature of truth, loyalty, and vengeance amid the shadow war between the United States and Russia. That sounds very interesting. I suppose you'd have to read the first one. The Deadliest Legacy by Hilary Bonner. I'm rushing because I can see the alarm's going to go off here. DCI David Vogel investigates a sudden death at a local book festival in this gripping police procedural. Agatha Christie with an edge. When Delia Day, the world's most successful living romantic novelist, accepts an invitation to be the headline author of a prestigious book festival, she expects a couple of days engaging with fans, attending panels, and visiting the local sites. She doesn't expect what happens next. Sudden, shocking death right there on the festival's main stage. DCI David Vogel is called in to investigate, and it soon becomes clear that a lethal presence is lurking in the usually sleepy little village of Appledore. But surrounded by professional authors who spend their days spinning tales and plotting impossible crimes, can he uncover the truth, or will the killer plant enough real-life red herrings to get away with murder? How about that? Right when the alarm goes. I was going to very quickly update what I'm reading. I'm currently reading Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. I'm actually somewhere in the 60% range because that's been a very interesting read. It was my first Alice Feeney, and I'm still working on The Running Grave. I'm on page 267, which is at the 28% mark. Let's see, some announcements, super duper quick. We've got reading sprints tonight at 6:05 p.m., 8:05 Eastern. We have an extra reading sprint tomorrow night. Sarah is still recovering from her not being well, and I had somebody ask if I would step in and do some reading sprints tomorrow night. So extra reading sprints tomorrow night, same time, same channel, and then our usual Thursday night. So this week we're doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and still Saturday afternoon. Hope you have a lot to read or work on a project. Again, tomorrow we'll be doing the morning show at Eastern time. Reading sprints will be 8:05 Eastern time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Saturday would be 3 p.m. Eastern time, and that one goes for 5 hours. So 9 shows this week. 9. You're gonna get sick of me. Tomorrow morning we'll be looking at romances that are out new this week, but I'm definitely finding things to add to my TBR. It's a wonderful problem to have. All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for watching. If you're watching it on replay, appreciate that. I know it's early, but this is the only time I got. Be safe, be happy. God bless. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom.